Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am coming to you with part 2 of my random Q&A. If you have not watched part 1 yet, I highly recommend you check it out. But basically I went on my Pinterest and found this amazing website that gives you a bunch of random questions that are super interesting to be answered from a perspective of a former exchange student. 6 years ago I did my student exchange in the USA, in Texas to be more precise, and today I'm going to be answering a bunch of questions. The last time I actually answered a lot of questions about how I felt before I went on my exchange, about food and school, and today I'm just going to continue with my questions and hope you enjoy it. So if I'm looking down, it is because the questions are on my phone. The first category I'm going to be dealing with today is called daily life, so we're gonna get right on into the question. The question number 1 on here is what advice would you give to other students? So I made an entire video on this a couple of weeks or even months ago now, so definitely go check that out. It's called exchange student tips or advice for exchange students. So those are like my main tips, but I would say if I had to give you one tip, it is to manage your expectations. Obviously going on an exchange is an amazing time, so it is just natural that you're going to get really excited, but you know, it is a very special situation for you, but to anybody else that you're coming into the life of, you know, all the people at school and even your host family, it is still, you know, their everyday life, so they're not going to be as excited. They haven't been waiting for you their whole life probably, so you know, just manage your expectations. People are gonna, you know, need some time to warm up. You are going to need some time to warm up. You're going to need some time to learn everything, to learn the cultural rules, to learn how everything works, to get to know people. So it is going to be an amazing year, but it is going to take some time and some work, but you're going to get through it. Just manage your expectations so you don't get disappointed right away. The next question is, what was the most surprising thing you did or saw? I would say the most surprising thing I did was that I joined the volleyball team. And I thought, you know, there would be like 2 hours of practice a couple of times a week because that's how we do sports over here in Germany usually, but I actually ended up working out and training for volleyball 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and tournaments on top of that. So that was just ridiculous to me. That was absolutely crazy. I've never worked out that much in my life. I'd never lifted as many weights. I've never had to run that much. So that was definitely really hard, and I definitely, you know, just exhausted myself every single day. But looking back, I'm really glad I did it, but I really surprised myself there and how hard I could really go, you know, in the weight room or on the track. Describe your favorite day. There were, you know, a bunch of favorite days, I would say, but the first thing that comes to mind is my trip to Florida, actually, because that's where I met so many amazing friends of mine that I still talk to this day. So my exchange organization actually offered us to go to Disney World, Florida for, you know, a really good price, and they packed all of our exchange students from all around the world in a car, and we drove to Disney World and stayed there for a week in Florida. And I actually met so many great friends, and all of the people there were amazing, and I am so grateful. So it's not really a day, but it's more like a week, but I will always remember this week, you know, until the day I die. It was just amazing. Next up, we have this question. It says, how safe did you feel there? Generally speaking, I felt pretty safe. There was never a moment in the States where I felt really unsafe or like scared. I would say that, you know, it's definitely different there. I wasn't used to guns, for example. There were a lot of guns around, which I was definitely not used to because gun control is so much stricter here in Germany. So just like guns or firearms hanging on your like living room wall, I wasn't, you know, used to. So that was definitely like a whoa moment for me at first, but I was never really scared of that at all. I was probably most scared of the animals that were there. So there were like spiders and like snakes and all that kind of stuff, and I was definitely not used to it because it wasn't like a tiny house spider. It was like a spider this big and like huge snakes that were actually poisonous. So that was probably what I was most scared of because I didn't really know how to deal with those. But yeah, overall I wasn't really scared at all. The next question says, what was the weather like? So the weather overall was pretty good. good. It was warm, sometimes too warm, but everybody has AC, so you can deal with that. Yeah, it was pretty sunny. I mean, it's the American South. It was pretty warm. So overall, I would say lovely. We had a few days where it actually snowed and everything was shut down because, you know, people there are not used to it being cold or snowing. So what I definitely noticed was that the weather just switches so quickly. Like, it might snow one day and the next day you can go out in a t-shirt and not even be cold. And here in Germany, it's like when it's cold, it stays like that for like 5-6 months, and then it gets warm and it stays like that for 5-6 months usually. So we don't have those like quick switches, and in the States you definitely have that. What you also get in the United States in spring, usually in the South, is tornadoes. So that's probably also something I should have mentioned for the last question. That's something that made me feel a bit unsafe, is that, you know, you have all those alerts going off and there's like a tornado coming. So that's kind of a scary part and something to do with the weather that I wasn't used to, but definitely better weather than I was used to here in Germany. Next question, were there any cliches that were proven wrong or right? I would say a cliche that was definitely proved right for me was that there were people that could be, you know, considered like cowboys or cowgirls. There were actually people, you know, with like bootcut jeans, cowboy boots on, like a checkered shirt, like a big buckle belt, and like even a hat, although you had to take that off in school, that had like the southern drawl. So definitely that was a cliche that was totally being met. Another cliche that was also being met was that Southerners were just really, really, you know, friendly, like super friendly. And also in my state especially, they always say, you know, Texas is like the Bavaria of the United States. If you live in Germany, you know what that means. So Texas is always like, it is part of the United States, but they like to consider themselves kind of a part of the United States as well. So that's definitely something that I also found was true. I'm trying to think what I thought of Americans that wasn't true. I don't know if there were any cliches that I found that weren't true. I'm trying to think of cliches right now, but maybe that I feel like everybody thinks that all Americans are like super religious. Definitely a lot of Americans are more religious than Germans tend to be, but there were definitely also some that weren't at all. Also, not all Americans are friendly, but I think that's just a really hard thing to like expect, you know, for everybody to be friendly. That's like kind of impossible for everybody to be friendly at all times, so that's just natural. Other than that, I don't think there were any cliches that were proven true or false that I can think of right now. The next question, did you learn anything about politics here and there? Definitely there was, fortunately, not an election going on, because I feel like the election climate is always really, you know, people get heated and discussions get heated, and I don't think it's a really nice climate to be in as an exchange student personally. So fortunately there wasn't an election going on, but you know, in the South and especially in Texas, there is a lot of people that support the Republicans, and since there are only two parties, main parties in the American, you know, political system, I feel like the discussion is generally quite heated, because you're either like on our side or you're like the enemy. There's no in between, and so, you know, discussions get pretty heated. So I did learn a lot about, you know, how the American political system worked. I did learn a lot about the Constitution and stuff like that, and I did just learn about just people's like general attitudes and how people make the decision which party to vote for. I think that's definitely something I learned. Was there anything unique about studying abroad in that place and that time? Any current events that happened? Actually, something that happened towards the end of my year, which is interesting considering the situation we're in now with COVID, was that Ebola broke out during the end of my stay. So we actually were supposed to go to the Texas State Fair, and we didn't end up going because, you know, Ebola, the sickness or illness or virus, I don't even know, probably a virus, broke out, and it was really infectious, and, you know, that happened towards the end. So that was really interesting considering we're now in like a pandemic. Next question, did you listen to local music? What was it like? It wasn't necessarily local, but my host dad listened to the Black Keys, which I thought was a really cool band. I still listen to some of their music now, and he also sung on the radio and in bands that were like kind of alternative rock inspired, and so that's the music I listen to a lot. And yeah, that's probably the music I listen to the most, and I really enjoyed it. The last question in this category is actually really funny. It says, what is in style there? That's such a general question, but I'm going to just apply it to clothing. It has probably changed, but when I was there, I find that Americans tend to wear, when they're, you know, just chilling, they tend to wear like Nike shorts, like slightly baggy athletic Nike shorts, then either a t-shirt or like a sweatshirt that with like one slogan, like either a school shirt or just something that they got at a restaurant or something that has like a university's name on it. And then they have this, like, if I can find a picture, I'm gonna put it up here, this brown pair of sliders that every American teenager seems to own, and like a hairband on their wrist. And that's like what everybody wears in their free time, and it's so funny to me. So that's definitely something that's in style. This video has already gotten super long again, so I'm actually gonna have to cut this Q&A into another part. I don't want to make these videos too long for you guys to watch because I am aware that this is taking time out of your day, precious time. So yeah, I think this is probably enough for now, but I'm going to continue posting another Q&A because you guys seem to like this a lot. So watch out for this. This is coming very soon. As always, as I said in my last video as well, if you have any random questions, I would love to film a video with random questions that my subscribers ask me, so please just put it down in the comments below. They can be as random as possible as long as they have something slightly to do with my exchange year, or even if they don't and you just want to get to know me better, that's totally fine as well. Besides that, I would love if you subscribed and hit the notification bell as well if you don't want to miss out on any of my future videos that are coming your way. And just thank you guys so much for supporting me and this channel, and I love you. See you next time. Bye!